Hello, my most awesome project managers, PMPs in the making. Welcome to our 30 easy, agile, and PM questions. Every PMP can ace these. They're not hard. They just require a little bit of concentration. Here's your first question. You have just completed a sprint review. What is the next thing you should do on this agile project? Now, the way this works is I'm going at speed demon speed. You got to hit the pause button, my friends, because I'm going to be showing you the answers before you can blink. So this is a warning. If you really want to go through this quiz and ensure that you don't get spilt beans, you got to hit the pause button. You ready? All right, hit the pause button because I'm showing you the answer in 3, 2, 1. The answer to this is sprint planning. Think about it. You've done the sprint review. What typically follows is the retrospective, but that is not one of the options. So using the process of elimination, it can't be sprint review. That's what we just did. Can't be backlog refinement. That should have been done in the middle of the sprint, before the sprint review. Phase closure doesn't even come in because that's not agile, right? We don't do phases. So the next thing you would do is in the next sprint. You see? And it's sprint planning. And that's how you need to think about these questions. All right, here's your next one. Your team is finding the work very laborious and have limited understanding regarding the project deliverable. You find this out late in the day after they report running 3 weeks late. Though you are unhappy, you decide to hire 5 coaches to work closely with them to get the project back on track. What does this describe? 3, 2, 1. Again, hit the pause button. I will show you the answer. The answer to this question can be deduced with the process of elimination. First of all, it is describing something that is happening right now. It says, your team is finding the work very laborious and have limited understanding regarding the project deliverable. You find this out late in the day after the report running 3 weeks late. They're not saying we might be 3 weeks late. They're telling you we are. So it's not a risk. So anything to do with risk, we're going to cut those out, right? So it's nothing risk related. The action cannot be risk transfer because that should have happened before the risk occurred. Get it? So risk actions like mitigation, transfer, avoid, they happen before the risk. In this case, this already happened. So it says you decide to hire 5 coaches to work closely with them to get the project back on track. What do coaches do? Coaches coach. They're not running activities in parallel. So it's obviously not this. The best answer is crash. Adding more resources to the project for whatever reason. That's what we call crashing. Does that make sense? Great. Let's go to the next one. True or false? When EV is greater than PV, you are ahead of schedule. 3, 2, 1. The answer is indeed true. Whenever EV is greater than PV, you are ahead of schedule. True or false? Project integration should be done by the team in traditional project management. 3, 2, 1. The answer to this is false. It is not done by the team. It is done by the project manager. This is not true. In the world of Agile, however, project integration management is done by the team. Next question. You have just been assigned as the project manager to an Agile project. Which activity comes first? Hit the pause button. 3, 2, 1. Using the process of elimination, if you've just been assigned to an Agile project, just using common sense, you know you're not going to start writing user stories. That's not the first thing that you would do. Comparing that to everything else, we've got some pretty strong opposition here between 1, 2, and 3. Well, you need a vision before you create a charter. The vision is the overarching product's big idea. So you would need that before you create your project charter, which will have some of the vision in it. But the first thing is not going to be the charter, and it's not going to be thinking about releases. You got to think about the vision first and then the release. All right. So you think about the vision, you would think about the charter, you would think about the release. Stories will come much, much later in the day. And that is how you need to think about this stuff, my friends. All right. The next one. There are 5 roles in Scrum, true or false? 3, 2, 1. This is false. There are 3 roles in Scrum, not 5. The 3 roles in Scrum are the product owner, the Scrum Master, and developers. Some people would say development team. Make sure you look at the Agile Practice Guide to get their definition. True or false? In Scrum, a Scrum Master prioritizes the work for a complex problem into a product backlog. Again, if you just come in, you got to hit the pause button because we're looking at the answers pretty quick. 3, 2, 1. The answer to that is false. It's not the Scrum Master. It's the product owner who does this. The product owner prioritizes work in the product backlog. Next question. And what do you know? Our friends from Microsoft have frozen PowerPoint. I guess it's not their fault. It's just the way the program works sometimes. All right, let's do a quick reboot. All right, here we go. Poor Bill, always blamed for everything at Microsoft. Did you see the nonsense Elon wrote about him on Twitter? Shame on Elon. Really disrespectful. Anyway, let's get on with our business. So you've just been hired as a project management professional. You join a company where they are looking up to you for direction and guidance. Being that you hold this great certification, what should come first? Hit the pause button. 3, 2, 1. All right. So you've been hired as a project manager, right? You join a company where they're looking to you. Well, it did actually say it like that. It said, you have just been hired as a project management professional. But that is just story because this has no bearing on the final question, which is what should come first? You see? So you've been hired as a project management professional, not project manager. So what should come first? You've got a schedule plan for number 4 and a project plan for number 2. Well, you would get your project management plan first, not first, you get your schedule plan really. I guess this is highly debatable, which means they are probably worthless, right? Because you could have a skeletal project management plan and you could beef it up as you go along with schedule management plans, cost management plan, quality management plan. So these are both worthless as far as the answer is concerned. Then you've got performance report, which doesn't come until you're executing the work and then getting data back and analyzing the data in monitoring and controlling. And performance reports happen much later on when work is in progress. So it's none of those 3. What should come first before anything else is your benefits management plan. Just be aware that they may not refer to it all prim and proper like benefits management plan on the exam. All right. So the answer to this, my friends, is very obvious. It is, as you can see, the benefits management plan or benefits plan. Let's move on to our next one. In Scrum, an iteration should be 8 weeks or less. True or false? Hit the pause button if you need more time. 3, 2, 1. That is false. In the world of Scrum, an iteration should be 4 weeks or less. Next question. In predictive project management, scope is fixed and cost is fixed. True or false? 3, 2, 1. That is a false statement. In predictive project management, scope is fixed, period. Schedule and cost are flexible. Make sure you take a look at that inverted iron triangle from the world of DSDM in your Agile practice guide. Next one, true or false? The team of developers turn a selection of the work into an increment of value during a sprint. Three, two, one. This is actually true. Don't be moved by the faces, right? This is actually true. And if you read the Scrum Guide, I don't know if you folks have visited the scrumguides.org site, but if you visit scrumguides.org, you can download a copy of the Scrum Guide. I highly recommend reading it and getting into the world of Scrum, because that's exactly what the developers do. They turn a selection of the work into an increment of value during a sprint. The more proper way of saying it could be the Scrum team. So if you wanted to go Puritan on me, you might say, oh, it's the entire team. And that's debatable, because it's the Scrum team, which consists of developers, the product owner, and the Scrum Master. So if you're going to go Puritan, you could say, oh, well, it's everyone, everyone turns the selection of work into an increment. But you also want to look at what is called topic 3 under the Scrum Guide, because it reads how this is done at the sole discretion of the developers, right? How this is done is at the sole discretion of the developers. No one else tells them how to turn product backlog items into increments of value. So you could argue it if you wanted to go Puritan, but the bottom line is the developers, they take that chunk of work, they're doing the work, and they turn it into an increment of value during the sprint. They're doing the work, right? It's not the product owner, it's not the Scrum Master. But if you wanted to go Puritan, you could argue it. This is why you should know what is in the Scrum Guide, just so that you get your head straight. And when you see questions on the exam, you know what exactly it's talking about from any angle, and you could use that to further eliminate options. But anyway, straight true or false question. Here's another one. In Scrum, 2 or more Scrum Masters are advised. Is that true or false? 3, 2, 1. That is false. 1 Scrum Master is advised. Next one, true or false? In Kanban, we strive to maximize WIP. True or false? 3, 2, 1. This is false. In Kanban, we limit our WIP. WIP stands for work in progress. Next question. In Scrum, the first event is the sprint planning meeting. True or false? 3, 2, 1. The answer to this question, it might shock you, but that is false. The reason it's false is the first event in the world of Scrum is the sprint itself, followed by sprint planning, because in the world of Scrum, this is how it is. This thing right here is your sprint, right? Let's look at it like a container. Inside the sprint, you have your sprint planning, you have your sprint review, you have your sprint retrospective. Inside the sprint is a container for everything else. All right, so your sprint planning, your sprint review, your sprint retrospective, they're all inside, and your daily scrum, they're all inside the sprint. You got to look at it like that. So the first event is actually the sprint itself. Next question. Your boss asks you to put $5 million aside to deal with a risk if it happened. This approach is what? 3, 2, 1. This is active accept. Active acceptance means you are putting aside some sort of contingency to deal with the risk if it happens. Next question. You decide to concede your position during a conflict. This is known as compromise. Is this true or false? I'm going to give you some extra time to think about this one. My PMBOK 6th edition aficionados, you should know the answer to this. Go for it. So, my friends, if you have done enough research in your PMBOK guide, you know that that word concede is tied not to compromise, but to smooth or accommodate. So, the best answer to this is false, of course. Conceding your position is smoothing or accommodating. Okay, next question. A great example of flow-based agile is Scrum. Is that true or false? 3, 2, 1. Hit the pause button if you need more time. The answer is false. It's false because Scrum is iteration-based. Next question. SPI is a more conclusive metric than SV at first glance. Is that true or false? 3, 2, 1. That is actually true. Schedule Performance Index is more conclusive. It shows you the absolute state of the project. Knowing SV does not show you how badly the project is behind schedule or how well it is ahead. For example, if schedule variance is a minus $100, it doesn't show you the value of the entire project. So you don't know the implication of that variance until you know the time period and the associated budget. Such is the case for CPI. CPI is also more conclusive than cost variance at first glance. Next question. You have just been hired as a project management professional. You join a company where they're looking up to you for direction and guidance, being that you hold this great certification. The project deliverables have been accepted and signed off by the customer. What should you do next? So again, hit the pause button if you need more time, but using the process of elimination, the project deliverables have been accepted and signed. What you want to do is you don't want to release the resources because there may still be work to do. You are not going to learn about the next project to be done. It could be presumptuous, but it's not the best of the answers. because it doesn't pertain to this project. We don't know that for a given. Closing the phase is premature because there's something better. We could create a final report and let them know the state of the union regarding the project. So the best answer is final report. Next question, ETC plus AC equals EAC. In other words, estimate to complete plus actual cost equals estimate at completion. 3, 2, 1. That is actually true. So imagine the amount of money you need to complete a project plus the money you've spent gives you the total estimate, the EAC. It's that simple. If you are lost with that one, you need to watch my videos on forecasting. It'll help you understand this. Now, a lot of people say the most they got was SPI, CPI. Who knows with PMI? Speaking of which, SPI equals EV minus PV. Is that true or false? 3, 2, 1. This is false. SPI equals EV divided by PV. So this is a false statement. All right, let's take a look at the next one. On a Scrum team, an increment is released every iteration. Hit the pause button if you need more time. 3, 2, 1. That is false. You do not need to release an increment every iteration. It may not be featured enough, so you may need to hold on in some instances before you release what you derive from an iteration. Next question, backlog refinement and backlog preparation are the same thing. Are they the same thing? 3, 2, and 1. All right. So the answer to this, my friends, is false. Backlog refinement and backlog preparation are not the same thing. Refinement happens in the middle of a sprint. Typically, it's meant to refine the backlog. Backlog preparation is referred to much earlier on. Think of this as the initial population of the backlog, and you can find this additional information, if you will, to better understand backlog preparation in the Agile Practice Guide. All right, let's move on to the next one. You have just completed your project management plan. What should you do next? 3, 2, 1. All right. So since you are on your project management plan, the assumption is you should have done what came before that. And what came before that was a needs assessment. So it's not that. A needs assessment followed by a business case. So it's not that either. And a business case followed by a benefits management plan, which is not here. And after all of that, you would plan in more detail. And part of that planning could be analogous estimating. But if your project management plan is done, then you are going to be executing the work and realizing the benefits of the project. And that's called benefits realization, because you're doing the work, you're knocking it out of the park with deliverables, and then you should be seeking where are the benefits that we talked about? Are they being realized? You want to hunt down the benefits. It's that simple. All right, let's go to our next one. Project charters may be authorized by a project sponsor. Is that true or false? 3, 2, 1. All right, hit the pause button if you need more time. The answer to this, it's true. Project charters are authorized by sponsors, just one of the many who could authorize the charter. All right, true or false? 3 pillars of Scrum are transparency, inspection, and adaptation. 3, 2, 1. This is true. The TIA factor is what I call it. Next one. The project team's velocity is fluctuating and is much higher than normal. What is the most likely purpose, or what is the most likely reason is what it could read. So what is the reason for the velocity being as it is? You guess? All right. 3, 2, and 1. So when velocity fluctuates, what we know for sure is it could be as a result of people not being available for as long as they need to be. Number 4 is very presumptuous. It says many user and system requirements. It's not a reason for fluctuating. The third one, stories are too tough. No. Yes, I know that stories could be different from what you thought, but to just say the stories are too tough is a little bit of a stretch because you don't know for sure, right? You don't know that for sure. So as far as this question is concerned, the best option, it has to do with a couple of things. When your velocity fluctuates, either you have less capacity than planned, or you have the addition of team members. So 2 of these options are plausible, right? Because it's fluctuating, it's going up and down, right? And it says, before we jump in, it says the velocity is much higher than normal. Did you catch that? So that already will eliminate your doubt, because if you're saying project team's velocity is fluctuating, then it could be either 1 or 2. But the moment we narrow it down and we say it's fluctuating and is much higher, it can't be because the stories are tough, right? If the stories were tough, the velocity would be lower, right? And then if the capacity was low, it would not result in velocity being higher. It would be the opposite. So it's actually not number 1 either. The best option is new team members join frequently. It could only be that. You got new people joining and they're able to roll and get stuff done. So your velocity is higher. Bit of a trick question there, but that would be the answer. All right, let's move on. We just got a few left. True or false? There are 8 areas of knowledge. In other words, knowledge areas within project management. True or false? 3, 2, 1. The answer to this is false. There are 10 knowledge areas. All right, next question. CPI and SPI are equal when the project is exactly on track. 3, 2, 1. This is true. If SPI and CPI are exactly on target, it's going to be a 1 and a 1, and they will both be equal. So it's kind of like a common sense question, if you will. All right, let's go to our final one. You have been awarded a short project to install several demountable partitions for a huge company move. Parts of the installment were found to be defective and change requests from the customer were approved for rework. During quality control, you ensure these changes are indeed in the revised deliverable. What is the derived output of these actions known as? If you need more time, why don't you hit that pause button? All right, 3, 2, and 1. So the best answer to this is verify deliverables, because that's what you get out of the process known as control quality. All right. So I hope you found these questions to be helpful. Remember, you can take them as many times as you like. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. So when these videos come out, you'll know they're out. I'll give you a good run for your time and your effort. All right. Thanks for joining me. You take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.